Well, I started off as a scientist. I was interested in mathematics, theoretical physics, and was good at it. But then I got more and more interested in consciousness, and I realized that science just couldn't explain consciousness, and that took me into an interest in meditation, into Eastern philosophy, and into various spiritual traditions. And really, since then, my life has been about really trying to understand what is the essence of the world's spiritual traditions. Because I think, on the outside, religion is very different, very, very different from each other. But deep inside, I think they're all saying the same thing. So I've been interested in what is that common core. And so I've written books sort of looking at that. I'm also interested in the future, where humanity is going. I wrote a book on the global brain, which was very well known. So that's been my interest, really. In one way or another, my interest has been in consciousness and how can we awaken, raise our own consciousness. Letting go has actually been an interest all my life. When I first started meditating many, many years ago, 50 years ago, I realized that the essence of meditation was letting go. And just gradually, my ideas have developed over time, and I've developed various practices myself. And just as time gone on, I've just seen it's more and more and more important. And so always wanted to write a book on letting go. And finally, I felt the time was right, both for me in terms of my own understanding of letting go, but also just seeing it as really, really important thing for the world today. More difficult. Oh, writing. Meditation is easy. I mean, for me, my sort of meditation, I know some sorts of meditation are very difficult, but for me, meditation is just allowing the mind to relax, allowing the focus of the attention to relax. So it's really about just coming to a quieter, more relaxed state of mind, whereas writing is the opposite. For me, I need to be much more focused. I'm thinking, really thinking about what I'm saying, what I want to say, and looking at what I'm writing. Does it say it correctly? So it's very much the opposite. I could say writing is a focusing of the attention, whereas meditation is relaxing of the attention. So yes, by their very nature, I would say meditation is easy by its nature, and writing is always a challenge. But I like it. I enjoy writing. I enjoy the process. Yes. Yes. I don't think there was any one major point, but just the more and more I explored it, the more I found whenever I did let go, there was always this sense of coming back to a state of a more peaceful state, a calmer state, more relaxed state. And so that was always a continual thing. That feedback, whenever I did let go, was like, yes, this is much better. And so that feedback encouraged me to do it more. So I think it was an ongoing process rather than one big aha. I mean, I did remember some time it was some time back when I was actually had some ear, I had some sort of pain in my ear, and I was resisting it. And I just noticed when I let go and allowed it in, I was amazed how the pain changed, and actually within 10 minutes it disappeared. I mean, little things like that with dealing with physical issues and with tension in my body. Sometimes when I'm meditating, noticing some tension in my body, when I stop resisting it and just let it be, then often it just begins to soften and resolve of its own accord. So lots of little experiences like that, or letting go of, if I'm feeling some judgment about somebody, some anger, that makes me upset. And then just when I let go of that judgment, it's like, it's so much nicer. So it's lots of little things like that for me. Right. I think the two things. One, often we're not letting go of things. We think I've got to let go of money or relationships or my attachment to a certain philosophy. It's not letting go of things. It's actually letting go of a way of seeing things. And our attachment comes from thinking, this is important. I have to have this in order to be happy. So it's letting go of a belief system about what we need to be happy. So we don't change the things in the world. I mean, if you say you have an attachment to money, it doesn't mean you have to be poor, but it means, to change how we perceive money, what it means to us. So it's an inner shift. Often letting go has been seen as an outer thing. I've got to stop doing this or stop doing that. But it's basically a change of perspective, a change of how we see things. So that for me is the essence of letting go, not trying to change the world, but changing ourselves inside so that we see things in a different way. And for me, what I've discovered in my own process, I think this is what is probably special in my book, is I see letting go as two things. One is letting be, which many people have said that it's allowing things to be, to stop resisting them. But then I also see that before we can allow things to be, we actually have to allow in the experience. We have to let it in. So if I'm feeling some resistance about something, to actually allow in, how does it feel to be resisting something? Or if I'm feeling angry, to notice, how does that feel in my body? What's going on in my body when I feel angry? What's the various things? Or what is the story I'm telling myself about the person? So I reframe letting go as, first of all, letting in, and then letting be, and seeing those two steps are the key things. And that's what I've been really the last 10, 20 years really exploring in my life, this whole process of changing letting go to, instead of trying to get rid of something, allow in the experience, allow it to be, and then the letting go just seems to happen on its own. Ah, I had to let go of writing the book many times. um, but I think always with writing, when I get stuck, as we do with writing, many writers do, when I get stuck, it's because I've got caught in a certain way of seeing the book. So, for example, with this book, I had tried writing it earlier. I tried writing it as a regular book, with chapter 1 and chapter 2 and chapter 3, and it's all sort of laid out. And it wasn't working. I wasn't getting enthusiastic. It was like stalling. It wasn't happening. And then I realized, really just a couple of years ago, I realized, hang on, I don't want to do this as a regular book. So I let go of that and instead saw the way I wanted to do it was a series of just very short, independent essays, very short pieces. So it's about 40 different, 40, 43, 44 different pieces, which I much more enjoy doing because I like that working with a little piece. I like the crafting, the developing. So I really, in writing the book, I had to let go of the whole format of how I thought the book should be and try this completely new way of doing it, which turned out to be much, much more enjoyable. And I think people like it because I think people like short pieces rather than great big long chapters or books. I think it's not only possible, I think it's very, very necessary, absolutely necessary. Because, yes, you're right. We live, most people, not everybody, but most people are living very busy lives with a lot of stress. And if we don't balance that with an equal amount or similar amount of rest, stepping back, we just get more and more stressed until we collapse or get sick. And that's what happens. So, what we need to do is to have some way of coming back, stopping the stress, coming back from the busyness. And that's where meditation for me is really, really important, just to have, some time each day, just whatever it is, maybe 15, 20 minutes to stop, to just stop what's going on, to stop the thinking, stop following those particular thoughts, and just coming back to being in the present moment. So that, which is really just about letting go of all the things that have been worrying us, the things we have to do, letting all that go, letting the busyness in our minds, just letting the busyness go, so we can just come back to like being here in the present moment. And when we do, I think everybody feels the sense of, yes, this is nice. This is what I want. So I think it's absolutely essential we find time to let go of all that we've been doing, let go of the busyness, let go of the thoughts, so we can just come back to and what I call our natural state of being, which is one of feeling comfortable and at ease. So yes, it's absolutely essential that we combine the two. The hardest thing to let go of. For me personally, I think the hardest thing to let go of has sometimes been judgments about other people. I easily get caught up in my head about, oh, this person is no good, or what's wrong with this person, or how they should behave, or how they shouldn't behave. And, it's allowing everybody to just be as they are. I mean, sometimes people do need feedback. I need to maybe say, hey, this isn't working. Maybe we need to approach this differently. But when I judge a person, all I'm doing is hurting myself. I think it, I think it was the Buddha said, when you judge another person, it's like, or you hold a grievance against another person, it's like you take poison in the hope that they will die, in the hope the other person will die. It's like I hurt myself. The other person may not even know I'm holding some grievance or judgment. So just seeing that when I do that, it's actually hurting me. So letting go of judgment is probably one of the most important things. It's hard because I so easily get caught up in it. I think a lot of us do, right? Easily get caught up in my negative view of somebody else. So that's something I continually keep a watch on for myself, continually keep an eye on that. In a way, there were 2 points that sort of came together. The first was when I was at university. I was in Cambridge in England, and there was this moment when I just realized, as I said, that no amount of physics was ever going to really understand consciousness. So that was a point where I decided I needed to understand consciousness. And as I said, that took me into exploring meditation, Eastern philosophy. And I went out to India, and I was in India studying with the Maharishi because I learnt TM. And two things happened that I think really changed my life then. One was what I mentioned before, realizing that underneath all the different spiritual traditions, there was this common element. They were all saying we've got ourselves trapped either in self-centeredness or in material ideas, and that a different life is possible, a life that's much more easy, less stressful, that's more in touch with our own true being. And then the second part, realizing that that was what the world needed today. When I looked around the world, almost any problem I saw, whether it was a personal problem, political problem, environmental problem, all the problems in one way or another had human consciousness underneath them, human values, human decisions. And what we were doing was we were trying to solve the problems, which is good. If cutting down the Amazon rainforest, for example, yes, we certainly need to attend to that, but we need to look deeper. What is it in the human being, in the psychology, in the values that leads us to behave in such self-centered ways? And so that became the motivation. I realized that as well as doing everything we were doing to deal with our problems, we also needed to look at the root of the problem and understand what is it in our consciousness that leads us to be so self-centered. And so that was the motivation to then take this understanding I was getting about the essence of spiritual traditions and share that with the world. And so that's really been the motivation behind all my writing and teaching over the years, to bring this wisdom to the world, because I feel we really, really need it in these times. The typical day, I get up, I make a cup of tea, being English, and I generally I sit and just sit quietly, meditate for a little while, maybe 15 minutes, sometimes longer. Just sit quietly. I start the day just being quiet. I like to do that. And then, gradually, then have some breakfast. And then, as always, most people, I look at my computer, see what the emails are, see what needs handling, urgent things. And then it varies. The morning, early afternoon is when I tend to work. If I'm writing, that's when I work, is in the morning, up until sort of, 1, 2 o'clock in the day, that sort of thing. And then in the afternoon, I may do gardening or go and do errands, go and do shopping. And again, I like to meditate again the end of the afternoon, that time of day, just before the evening starts. And evenings, possibly more social time now that COVID is coming to an end, or for the moment coming to an end. So that's a typical day. Yeah, it depends what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm writing, other times I have other things to tend to, meetings, whatever. But my work day tends to be during the day. Yeah, mid morning to mid afternoon. Yeah. Yes, really. Thank you. Really important. I think we are moving into times of unprecedented change. COVID was a sudden change in the world, and then the war that's going on as we speak, that's a sudden change. We're going to deal with more and more unexpected change, and I can't prophesy what it will be because all these things are unexpected. So I think the two things we have to learn is one, to be more stable in ourselves, not to be thrown around and get upset by every change. When something bad happens, is to see it, see what we can do, how do we react, but not to get caught up in some big emotional distress. I think that's really important so that we stay stable in ourselves. And the other thing is to be more flexible, which is the way we've dealt with things in the past may not be the way to deal with things in the future. So, in our own personal lives, to actually be willing to let go of how we've done things in the past. Maybe it's right, but maybe let go of it and see, is there something new that's being asked of me here? So, really, it's about letting go of our expectations of how things should be, so we don't get emotionally kicked around by every change, and um, letting go of how we think we should respond, so that we can be more flexible. I think those to me are the two key things, and I think the more we can let go, the easier it will be to navigate the changes that are coming in the world.